What is going on, people? This is episode 588 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller, and over here we talk about Georgia Southern Atlanta Falcons football. But today I want to talk about something a little bit different. It does pertain to the Falcons and the Eagles because that is my go-to content that I love to do. I mean, when it comes to this channel, it's the Falcons and it's Georgia Southern and everything outside of that umbrella. I mean, well, inside the umbrella, whether it be the NFC South or whether it be the Sun Belt Conference. And mostly we just talk about football over here. I mean, there's a lot of transitions that are going on with this channel, but now it's pretty much established itself. And I want to talk about what I do and what other content creators basically do, because we all pretty much do the same thing when it comes to making this content. And I feel like at this point that this content on YouTube, Rumble, if you have your own avenue for your podcast, it's the best content. And it's not easy, but it's no other it's no other way around it. I believe that this content is the best content. And I'm not here beating my chest or talking about, I'm not trying to diminish the other, corporate content. That's what I like to call it. I'm not trying to diminish it because it does have a place, but if you want real, honest, sometimes like overtly outrageous content, the independent content is the way to go. So we're going to talk about that. If this is your first time here, welcome. I usually talk about the football aspect of the Falcons and the Eagles, but today is going to be a little bit different. I can be found on YouTube and Rumble. I'm also on Anchor, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. This podcast is a fairly small podcast, but I'm very proud of what this podcast has done. We've gotten over the 1,400 subscriber mark on YouTube, and like I said, it's pretty small, but I'm very, very proud of where this has gone. Also, on the podcast avenue, there's a lot of people that listen to the podcast on those avenues a little bit, just about as much as here on the YouTube, if not a little bit more. It's very refreshing to see that people love this content. And one thing about this content I love about it is actually doing it, putting it out there, giving you my thoughts and opinions on said topic that I talk about. And when it comes to this content, I feel like it's the best content due to us being honest, us being real. It's not just with me. I'm talking about other people that are out there, people who do the same type of content I do when it comes to the Falcons or the Eagles. If I start a list of talking about everybody who does it, I'll be here talking about those names all day. And but they do a phenomenal job as well. A lot of people get caught up into what the mainstream media does, the corporate content creators do, and it's very watered down because they're not really authentic. They're not really telling you what they really feel. It's a very structured format, and the talking points are real. They have real talking points, and it gets watered down after a while. And one of the reasons why I talk about this, because I'm not going to get too deep into it, but the whole dust up now with Shannon Sharpe and Kwame Brown, I'm not going to get into it, but it is basically that confrontation. If you haven't caught it, I mean, it's all over the internet. When you look at that confrontation, it really exposed one of the reasons why I love our content, because our content over here on YouTube and other places, you can really just dwell into what you see and what you hear and analyze it. The corporate side of things, they have to play a role. And that role kind of got exposed by, the corporate content creator that's on the television. And I'm not here to take sides on who's right or who's wrong or whatever. I mean, but I did find both sides hilarious, but it really just shows you like where you can get honest opinions from. And I love the fact that I'm in this space to give you honest content when it comes to my Falcons or my Eagles. Don't get me wrong, I'm extremely biased when it comes to these two teams, but I'm not afraid to tell you when something's wrong. And a lot of people, not just in content creation, but in general, people don't like getting things wrong. People don't like being wrong. People don't like, doing the backtracking when they make a poor take. And it's really disheartening when you see that at the end of the day, because you see what people do for money, and it's fine. All full disclosure, this is a hobby that I do. I'm not here getting paid. Some people say I should monetize my channel, but I haven't yet. That should be something I may do somewhere down the road. Also, I built I started the website. I did, but I love what I do. This is a hobby of mine. If something was to happen with it where it is monetized, that's great, but it's nothing that I'm pursuing. I mean, to be quite honest, I genuinely love talking about these teams. And even on my other channel, when I talk about gaming, I genuinely love doing this. And you can tell the ones who come onto these platforms and love doing what they do, or they're honest about what they do and they're passionate about it. You see the real love. You see the real honesty. You see the real, conviction of the way they feel about their team or whatever other content that they're making. And this is one of the reasons why I kind of walked away from watching, television content. When you see these, content creators putting up certain props and they're doing all this other crazy stuff to sensationalize or have these crazy takes, it kind of gets, it gets phony and fake, and it gets really, it's not entertaining anymore. Because I want real honest opinions about whatever, is out there. And that's one thing you're going to get from me. You're going to get the honest opinions when I tell you about who does what on either one of these teams. Now, I do tend to go a little bit easier on Georgia Southern because those kids are, they're kids. They're kids in college. And I try my best to hype them up so they can be the best they can be when they get to the next level, wherever that is. And I know that I've seen some results where it really helped a lot of people. People have come to me and they said, yo, you've done a great job, talking this, talking this and that about my son, or I love the way you talked about this player on the Falcons, or whatever the case may be. And even when I'm criticizing, I try to be as fair as possible. Even when the times when the teams aren't doing bad, I try to be as fair as possible. But at the end of the day, I love these teams. I love doing this. Before I get out of here, I want to say this. I know I had a passion for this because when I was young, I used to record myself. I used to record myself doing like talk radio. And I knew that's something that I always wanted to do, but I never wanted to pursue it. It was just something fun. It's always been fun. Fun. And once I realized, I was talking to a friend of mine when I was at an old job of mine one day, and I was saying, we were just sitting back talking sports. And I was like, it would be nice one day that we can just actually be able to broadcast this. Now, mind you, this was like 2009 and YouTube was already out, but I never thought I'd be able to do it. Fast forward now, I figured out how to set things up and do all this other things. And, I first got on YouTube talking, strictly gaming and John Madden. But I told myself, let's talk about sports. And I started off talking about sports, and things didn't start off the way, I wanted it to. And a lot of things changed within the podcast. And, shout out to my former co-host. Both of those guys are phenomenal. They the ones that got this thing rocking and rolling for like the first 200 and some episodes. And I was able to change things around because of, certain circumstances that basically cut into everyone's time. Everybody had other things they had to do, and it was kind of rough at first because I didn't know if I was gonna be able to do this on my own. But when I got my feet settled in, that's when people started understanding that the independent side of what I was doing, the content, people started to take a like to it, and the channel started growing well over 1,000, subs. At the time it was at 300 and it jumped up to 1,000. So people know that this content is the best content. And I gave you the reason why I love doing it. I have a passion for this. And it sucks that you have other, content creators in the corporate world are just they're not able to be as honest or they have to throw you a gimmick. And I'm not saying it doesn't work. I mean, those guys do great, but it's just not the same because you don't have that, real opinion about somebody who is really passionate about a team. When they go out of their way to defend something that makes them look out of character, it looks really bad, So hopefully I got the gist of this episode across. I know it's not what I normally talk about, but I do love what I do. And at the end of the day, I want to tell you guys, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to subscribe to the channel. Thank you for taking the time to watch or listen to this podcast. I really mean it. Wasn't much to talk about on the Falcons or the Eagles side. So I just made it my whole business in this episode to let you guys know I appreciate you guys. And because you guys do understand the content here and on other platforms, shout out to everybody who's doing Atlanta Falcons content. Shout out to everybody who's doing Georgia Southern content. And we're going to continue to rise and get better because everybody that I know who does this content, they love it. They don't do it for just because they can, make money off of it. Now, I could be wrong, but that's what I believe personally. I think these people, these content creators have a real passion for it. Not only just with the Falcons and Eagles, but all over YouTube. Independent content is the best content. I want to get out of here, y'all. Thank you guys once again. You guys take it easy, and you guys be blessed. Peace.